If you've spent any time around a major football tournament, you've probably heard the chant, "No Scotland, no party." No Scotland, no party. It's sung half as a joke. I don't think I can say that. It's sung half as a joke, half as a statement of fact, because for all the near misses and heartbreak over the years, Scotland fans have earned a reputation for turning up in the huge numbers and making friends wherever they go. And they've waited a long time for moments like this. 28 years have separated Scotland's appearances at France 98 and qualification for this World Cup. And for plenty of supporters, that's not a drought. That's an entire footballing lifetime. So before I catch up with Scotland supporter Duncan, who's currently in Boston ahead of Scotland's opening game against Haiti, I wanted to play you a conversation I recorded a couple of weeks ago with filmmaker Ged Fitzsimmons. Ged travelled to Germany for the Euros with his mates, alongside thousands of members of the Tartan Army, and we ended up talking about football, friendship, and what keeps people coming back tournament after tournament. So as I'm in Glasgow before I head out to America next week, 10 days, I'm in Glasgow and I'm with Ged Fitzsimmons, who's a filmmaker and a big Celtic fan, a Scotsman, who is making an amazing film about Celtic legend. Can I say who?
Yeah.
Yeah, about George Connolly, iconic Celtic player, and that hopefully will be out next year at the Glasgow Film Festival or beyond. But in our conversation, you were telling me about your various Scottish adventures. Have you been away to any Scottish games?
So the last outing was we went to the Euros in Germany. I think we're making the choice not to go to America this year for various reasons.
The first person to say that, I don't think.
Yeah, and we went to the Euros and it was sensational. And there was about 80 as it went in all. And when we got into, being a Scotland fan, you don't go with any expectations. You go there to be part of the fun and the joy of it. And I know that somebody like Roy Keane would be horrified by that attitude, but the reality is you go there expecting the worst, and then anything that happens beyond that is good. And, we scored a goal. We got to celebrate that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I remember about it was Germany was brilliant. And Munich in particular was exceptional. And there's a couple of stories. I mean, what would we be 40? But we still, when we get together as pals, we get so excited.
Yeah.
That first hour and that first pint, we're like wee boys. And I've got a pal, a very dear friend, Craig, and he really loves his beer. And he's got a kind of, what would I say? He's got a kind of Desperate Dan kind of, what was the guy in Popeye? Bluto.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of looks like him. And but he loves his beer. He loves Augustiner. And so when we get into Munich on the day of the opening game against Germany, everyone's arriving at different times. Everyone's flying at different times. Him and I travelled together. And he was like, wait till you see this place. He's into his NFL. So he's been to Munich for NFL games and stuff.
Yeah.
He says, wait till you see this beer garden. And it was beautiful weather. It's like a city centre park.
Yeah.
Huge oak trees. It's like a park, but it's in the city centre. But it's all it is just a huge beer garden. It's an Augustiner, such and such. I can't remember the exact name of it. Anyway, so we get in and they are pouring the biggest, soapiest pints.
Big steins.
And huge steins.
Yeah. And
they're freezing cold. And it's just pure soap. And it's beautiful. And so we've had a couple of them already that day, and we walk into the park and we're like, where should we sit for the game and stuff? And he's like, Fitzy, wait a minute, Fitz, and he takes a huge bit. We charge our glasses, and I take a big huge gulp, and he takes a huge big gulp, and he sits it down on a beer keg, and he looks me right in the eye, and he says, and he's welling up, and he says, Fitzy, I'm convinced this is the happiest moment of my life. And he says, and he's welling up, right? And he says, and see, because I'm that happy, I'm going to ask you, would you be my child's godfather? Right? I'm going to choose this moment to ask you if you would be wee Jack's godfather. And honestly, we just burst out laughing, right? But it was so sincere, right? That is how much football is to people. I don't think, I often, the game itself can be quite secondary.
Yeah.
It's a social thing.
Yeah.
And aye, so that was amazing. And then the other amazing story was my other mate, Martin Robertson. He made this movie called Make It to Munich.
Oh, yeah.
And it was about a kid who had a dreadful accident in America, had to have his whole body rebuilt.
Yeah.
And the film is about him, after recovering, cycling all the way to Munich from Glasgow and taking the match pennant for the start of the game to the Scotland national team. So I met Martin when he was over there filming, when they all arrived. It was brilliant. And he said to me, look, because he was working with the SFA and different people involved in the film, he was able to get tickets to stuff. He says, look, I've got, do you want to go to the Turkey-Georgia game? And I was like, well, I mean, it's not exactly the tie of the tournament. He went, are you serious? He says, it's absolutely the tie of the tournament. He says, these fans hate each other. This is going to be absolutely incredible. He says, but the point is, have you ever been in Dortmund Stadium? And I says, no. He says, that is the best football stadium on earth.
The yellow wall.
So we travel in the middle, or we travel from Munich up to Cologne, and then from Cologne across to Dortmund.
Yeah.
And we drove, one of the guys was driving, terrifying journey on the motorway because there was a thunderstorm and the driving is just nuts.
Yeah.
And he didn't know the roads very well, and we're driving the wrong side of the road. Anyway, we travel across the Autobahn with a guy, with one of our pals who hasn't got a clue how the roads work. We're on the wrong side of the road. It's torrential rain in the middle of a thunderstorm. And when we get there, we get parked, and then we need to get a train to the stadium, and we're just utterly drenched because it's proper, tropical storm that happens.
Yeah.
It's a proper thunderstorm. It's dangerous. And on the way in, there was a bus full of like 5, 6, 7-year-old kids that were all going to the game, and we had to stand and help them over effectively a river that had created itself through the path. And we got through. But when we get into the checkpoint to get through the turnstile, kind of into the stadium, these tournaments are dominated are ran by volunteers. Nobody's getting paid, and these are huge organisations running huge national events, and they're all built on the back of people that are just working for free.
Yeah.
So there was this wee Indian German guy who Martin, my pal, was like, listen, I've got a spare ticket here. It's on my phone. It's like a you just scan
QR
the code. It's a QR
yeah.
code. And he says, listen, I've got a spare ticket. I don't know how I can give it to you. And you need to be with me so we can use it. I can't send it to anybody. He says, do you want to go into the game? And the wee guy said, oh no, I'm meant to be working.
Yeah.
And Martin was like, are you being paid? And he says, well, no. He says, you're a volunteer, aren't you? And he went, yep. And he says, well, why don't you just come into the game and we'll get you a pint and all that? And he just kind of looked at us, and he looked over his shoulder and looked at his supervisor's stuff, and he pulled his lanyard off his pass, and he just fired it into the wee river that had created itself next to the path. And away into the game we went. As it stands, I wasn't really impressed by the idea of going to a match between Turkey and Georgia, but as it turns out, it was easily the game of the tournament.
Yeah.
Like the goal with the goalkeeper in the ball, like the goal that Celtic scored at the end of the season just last week.
Yeah.
That team charging up the park to an empty goal to finish the tie off. When we arrived in the stadium, there was a riot happening. There was riot police in. The fans loathed each other. The Georgians and the Turks hated each other. We were in the Turkey end, and one of the kids turns around and says, "Where are you guys from?" From Scotland. He says, "Wait till you see how loud it gets when they get the ball." And they made the place an absolute din of discomfort.
Yeah.
Anytime the opposition, it was like constant. I don't know how they had the lungs for it. So that is easily that was the cauldron. That was the proverbial, we're in the cauldron.
And how does that compare to an Old Firm game?
That, if I'm speaking really honestly, I think just spectacle and tension and noise, it was noisier. There's no doubt there was constant noise. I know at any one of those Celtic or Rangers games, the home fans gradually settle into comfort, and they don't, it's the ultras that make the noise for the full thing.
Yeah.
This was a stadium that felt like it was full of ultras. Just
but
constant.
Also, I guess now increasingly in international games, in tournaments like the World Cup and the Euros, they're the few games where you're actually going to get equal distribution of fans.
Correct.
Because now with home and away allocations, particularly in the Old Firm, you don't even have away fans on
Correct.
some Old Firm games. So that's quite a rare thing in football these days, is to have like equal fans, isn't it?
Yes. And actually, I should say this. Maybe the more recent evidence, like this has easily been my most enjoyable domestic season I can ever remember, because of the nature in which it happened, because of the way
competitive.
because it was competitive, because it was scandalous, because it was the return of a king, an old guy
Martin,
dug up to get us over the line, and so the joy in this season, it doesn't really support my next statement, which is that up until that point, club football can get a wee bit repetitive and a wee bit predictable. And when Scotland qualified against Denmark just before Christmas last year, that for me was, look, competition's more balanced than international football.
Yeah.
Right? They can't spike it with players.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the Premiership for me is just spiked with just raw, insane talent. And you go, well, this is actually one of the best analogies I heard about Pep's football when he was at Man City was, it's like watching a shark. Right? It's fascinating, but it's utterly predictable because you know it wins. Yeah. And it's so perfect. Shark doesn't make a mistake, doesn't make an error of judgment, it's just on. Yeah. And that's what his football became, and I think it becomes quite off-putting. So when the international football, for me, and I was never really like this, but this particular phase of Scotland, watching Scotland and watching them, you know, just what happened in that Denmark game, that was just utterly incredible and exciting, because you know it is balanced. And the point I'm making is, it's less predictable. International football's way less predictable, and that's why I think it's actually more entertaining. And at a time where post-Pep, you've got all the teams playing the exact same style of football. Yeah, that's quite predictable.
And where and who with will you watch the games then?
So, well, the games kick off so late, so I'll maybe watch some in the house. And I'm trying to lose weight for my mate's wedding, so I'm trying to stay out of pubs.
Yeah. As we sit in a pub.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is, his stag do happens right in the middle of the World Cup. So, albeit there isn't a Scotland game that weekend, we're going to be in Dublin for fucking the middle of the World Cup. So that, in terms of watching Scotland games, like you showed me a flyer earlier on, and it was advertising watching the game at the Hydro. Yeah, I mean, I can't think anything worse than being in.
But I rounded up to Merchant Square earlier, and they've got a screen in there. I imagine they'll show games in there. Yeah, so that must be quite a good atmosphere.
So Merchant Square is a place that is often tagged as for away fans, is the place where fans should meet up. Like, so.
Oh, I see.
When there's a European game, Bilbao fans or whoever it is in there, and they all meet in there. Yeah. But there's tons of places. We watched the end of the season climax up in a place called Barra's Art and Design, which is in the Barras, and finally, after a long time, they're developing the Barras. It's an old market that, even now, you still get old guys selling a power pack for a Nintendo, for a Super Nintendo or a NES, and you think, he's never selling that. Why does he have this stall open? And so I think there's a time where those guys are moving out, and that is now becoming, I hate to use this word, but it is gentrified. It's getting turned into a place where it's bars and food and events, and so that place in particular is brilliant. So we watched the games there. So we might watch some of the Scotland games there. It's hard to tell what's going to happen because the kickoffs are so late at night, you know.
Have you got any mates who will be in Miami for Brazil, Scotland?
Yes. So the guy that I mentioned previously, Martin, he's going to the World Cup. He just goes, and he's a guy that's got a production company, and he sponsors his team is Pollock Juniors. He's one of those guys that is obsessed with junior football and that level of football. And I understand. He said that the match day experience outstrips any match day experience in Premier and in elite football. So, but he's always had his mind on going, and so he's now confirmed that he's going. And he was planning to go with, like I say, another documentary that was around Scotland. But for the moment, he's just going to go and busk it. I also have another pal who has booked to go on his own, and he did so without telling his wife. And so he just booked it all, and then turned around one day and said, "By the way, I'm going to that." And it wasn't like, "Do you want to come with me?" or anything like that. But he's just made his plans and he's away. So there are people that will not be deterred.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll bump into them in Miami outside there.
Yes, I'm happy to hook you up.
That'd be great. Oh, listen, cheers. That's so good. Great stories. Thank you.
Cool. Cheers.
I really enjoyed that conversation because it wasn't really about Scotland's chances or who should be playing up front. It was about the experience of going away together and being part of something. And having done that before I headed out here, it really set me up for this journey. Now, a few weeks later, Scotland fans are gathering again, this time on the other side of the Atlantic in Boston. And one of them is Duncan, who I got put in touch with through the Fan48 website and Instagram. And when we spoke, he was in Boston with loads of the Tartan Army, getting ready to head to Scotland's opening game against Haiti. And with a bit of luck, we'll be crossing paths again in Miami ahead of the Scotland game against Brazil here when I come back after my trips to Canada and the West Coast. Here's Duncan.
Yeah, I'll take you outside actually. I'll show you where my pals are sitting.
Yeah, where are you?
So we're currently just 8 miles out from Foxborough, where the Gillette Stadium is.
Oh, yeah.
Where the Scotland Haiti game's going to be, obviously. So it's stunning here. So we've just got a wee
look at
beer
that.
garden out here. Boys over there having a few pints.
Very good.
But
And
it's
how's
been
the head?
the head's sore. The head is very sore. We've had one too many last night watching the America game, but listen, we're kicking on. I think our game's at 9 o'clock today. Going to the games. That starts at, I think entry's at about 6 p.m, so we'll get in a few hours early, a few drinks in there. Hopefully prices aren't too expensive, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it all, isn't it,
Yeah,
unfortunately?
exactly.
Well, first of all, tell me about the atmosphere in Boston. That's where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, Boston. So we're staying a bit out of Boston. We've been getting Ubers into the city most nights.
Yeah.
So it's been incredible there. We're at, I can't remember the name of the street, but there was just loads and loads of Scotland fans, Tartan Army, kicking footballs up in the air, drinking beer. A guy was climbing a tree, trying to get the football out of it. It was just incredible. There was also like a lot of Haitian fans there as well.
Was there?
All the boys are all laughing at me now. I'm going to have to come over there, honestly. But yeah, no, it was good. There was also Norwegian fans were already there as well. I think they're playing games in Boston in like
great.
a week's time. So yeah, there's a lot of different nations there. And it was good. It was interesting seeing how sort of Americans reacted to having the World Cup in their country and seeing it was weird that we're in a bar and even when America scored, they weren't really interested. There was a Boston Red Sox game going on at the same time, and they were more interested in that than America versus Paraguay, which I thought was a bit interesting. But listen, we'll see how it goes on from there.
How has Boston reacted to the Tartan Army?
They've taken us in with open arms, to be honest with you. I think there's obviously a lot of sort of connections with Boston and that sort of Irish connection, which obviously we're not Irish, but it's sort of similar in some ways. Stuff. Exactly. The pubs are absolutely rammed. Like there's a pub called the Dubliner. It's just queued outside. You can't get in. But no, they've taken us in with open arms so far. I've not seen any hostility or anything like that. Maybe as the days go on, it might get a bit rowdier, but it's been good. It's been really, really good. So we had a few drinks just out here. As you can see, it's a really, really quiet beer garden here. But we're nowhere near Boston.
Before the storm.
No, exactly. The calm before the storm. We're going to go head into Foxborough in the next sort of like 20, 30 minutes.
Great.
The Patriots Stadium, we've got a thing called like the Patriots Place. So apparently it's just going to be like tailgating and stuff like that. So it'd be good to experience that for the first time.
That'd be awesome. Take me back. So when did your Tartan Army Scotland national team fandom begin?
To be honest with you, I've been following Scotland for a long time. You've obviously met my friend Leon, go to a lot of games. But I got quite lucky with this sort of World Cup. I got tickets to the Denmark game. I don't know if you know the story of how Scotland qualified. I'm sure you've seen it. The McTominay overhead kick. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
So you were in the stadium that day?
We're actually more than just in the stadium. There was these women behind us. I'll send you the link after we speak. But she was a YouTuber from Russia, of all places, and she's managed to capture our reaction to the Kieran Tierney goal and the Kenny McLean goal. And our reaction on bad days when you're hungover and bad days at work or something, just watching that video back, it brings you all back. There's a tear in your eye. You know, I'm 29 years old. The last time Scotland were in a World Cup was 28 years ago. I was 1 year old, so I've never experienced. I've never experienced a World Cup. Obviously, stories from my dad and stories from grandparents and whatnot. And obviously, when we played Brazil before, it's sort of iconic that it's going back to playing them in the group stages again. This time in Miami, which is going to be incredible. But yeah, we got really lucky. Our friend Calmac over there, we all applied for the ballot, and he actually got accepted. So we managed to get tickets to all the group games at face value. So we've got all tickets for all 3 games, $600. Obviously, I know. Yeah, we're actually just looking there. The tickets just for the Haiti game at the moment are about $500, and then the Brazil ones are. Don't even want to go into it, about $2,000. So yeah, no, we've been really lucky.
Are you tempted to sell any?
Well, this is the thing. We are going down to Mexico afterwards, and we've got a ticket for Spain, Uruguay as well. And we're seeing how expensive America's going to be. Might have to sell that, but I feel bad selling them overpriced tickets. And I think what FIFA have done, obviously taking the 15% cut or whatever it is as well, is just out of order. But speaking to a lot of, obviously, as I said, because we're out the city, we've been speaking to a lot of Uber drivers and been like, "What's the best way to get to Gillette Stadium?" And he said, "Whatever you do, don't get a train. Don't get a train." They've tripled the prices here for the trains. So there's 4 of us, so we're quite lucky. So an Uber is cheaper. Do you know what I mean? But previous World Cups, I'm pretty sure they've made it free, haven't they? Like transport, and they made it simple and easy. But it's a bit harder here in America.
Yeah. And so when did the trip planning begin?
So the trip planning began after the Denmark game, really. But my journey here has been probably a bit more niche than most sort of Scotland fans.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I hadn't seen my wee brother Jack in 2 years, so went over to Melbourne to surprise him, which was probably should have told him he was coming, because he's a chef, works 4 days a week, so I didn't get to see much of him. But yeah, anyway, was in Melbourne. And then flew from there and met Calmac in Bangkok. And then we flew from there to South Korea, and then South Korea direct to Boston. So I think in total airtime in the space of 2 days was about 28 to 30 hours. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of traveling. I think today's the first day. Yeah, here's the boys. Hello. This is the Calmac I've been speaking about.
You're speaking about this, but
yeah.
The Calmac, how you doing?
The Calmac. Calmac, you want to put an ear in? Have we word? No, he's going for a cigarette. He's not interested.
He's gone. What are your hopes and expectations of this trip? Like, what do you want to get out of it?
Well, number one, experiencing sort of other teams' cultures and speaking to them. But with regards to the actual football, Scotland have only been in a few World Cups. We've never got out of the group stages. Obviously, this one's a bit easier because there's 48 teams instead of the usual 32. But for me, for Scotland, getting to the last 16 would be great. That's the pessimistic hopes. The optimistic hopes, obviously, you go all the way. I mean, we've got a team we've got a lot of leaders in there. Like, obviously, Andy Robertson speaks for himself with Liverpool. John McGinn has just won a Europa League title with Aston Villa. Scott McTominay winning the Serie A with Napoli. I've got a lot of confidence, but at the same time, a lot of nerves. I mean, playing Morocco and Brazil are both 2 really good sides. And a lot of people I've been speaking to today are thinking that Morocco are going to win over Brazil. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes.
Tough group. Being a Scottish fan on the road, to what extent do you feel like there's a stereotype that you've got to live up to, and how authentic does all that feel?
Yeah, I feel the authenticity isn't there as much. There's a lot of kilts, there's a lot of people walking about feeling really Scottish, but I mean, the stereotype, the Tartan Army, they do live up to it. I think we did that at the Euros as well. But yeah, it's been an incredible.
Did you go to the Euros?
I didn't actually go to the Euros, but a lot of my friends did, and they said a lot of people that I work with, they're from different countries, and they went, and they said the Scots were just brilliant over there. I'm really looking forward to today, and looking forward to Miami, Scotland versus Brazil in Miami. I think that will be absolutely incredible. I was looking at Times Square today, so I think Brazil are playing Morocco there. And obviously, I don't know if you follow basketball a lot. The New York Knicks are currently away to win. It's the Knicks fans and the Brazil fans are obviously going to be... I don't know what Times Square is going to be like after the game today, but I think it'll be nuts. Just World Cup fever, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm in Miami as we speak, and I've been out and about, and I watched the USA game down here, and there's so many different cultures mixed around. And plus the sunshine and the beach and the environment. I think you're gonna absolutely love it. There's been a lot of Scottish fans down here already. I bumped into quite a few Scottish fans out and about as well. You're there with a bunch of mates, and the football's obviously going to be a big part of it, but in time, a small part of it. So you're going to be hanging out a lot, having a lot of traveling experiences, being out and about in America. You're going to Mexico. What does this whole experience kind of give you?
It gives me a lot, really. We've got more friends down in Mexico at the moment. He decided the States wasn't for him. He's going to a few games there. So I think just getting to see my pals, Lewis and Mersey, I've not seen them in about 4 months. So it's great to see them again, catch up. And it's not just them, it's unfamiliar faces. I was walking down one of the main roads and I saw someone that I'd not seen in like 10 years and didn't know he was at the World Cup, and like just bringing sort of the whole nation together. It's been a brilliant experience altogether, honestly.
And how does that play out? Because obviously in all nations, you've got the club competitions that have big rivalries. But Scotland, obviously, Celtic and Rangers fans have a massive rivalry.
Yeah.
Plus now you add in Hearts fans to the mix and all the drama that happened this year. How does that all meld together when it's about the national team?
Well, this is the thing. See, before I went to a Scotland game, it wasn't actually played at Hampden. It was played up at Pittodrie. And Ryan Jack was Pittodrie's Aberdeen Stadium. Ryan Jack, they're all Aberdeen fans, you see. Listening in again. Ryan Jack was their captain, and then he got transferred to Rangers. And any time in a Scotland jersey went on the ball, because it was all Aberdeen mostly fans, he got booed. So there is a lot of talk. There's a lot of toxicity around Scottish football. A few people I've seen out here haven't actually wearing Scotland tops and wearing club colours.
Interesting.
I didn't think that was going to happen. I saw a few people in Dundee United tops, St Johnstone, but specifically I saw a Celtic one, which, I mean, for me is more of a bias there, but I've not seen any Rangers ones, I'll tell you that. But hopefully as the beers get flowing, people don't get too aggressive if you're wearing club colours. I think, to be honest with you, everyone should just come together as one, because it's been 28 years, it's been so long. The thing I'm more worried about is back in Glasgow, like places like Partick, where it's sort of split 50-50. The pubs are staying open really late at night. The Celtic fans will watch it in the Smithy, the Rangers fans will watch it in the Rosevale. I think the Scotland game's on at like 4 a.m. Scotland time. So I'm just worried about the Rangers and Celtic fans end up clashing and fighting in the streets of... Because Rangers and Celtic games are only really allowed to go on a Sunday at 12. So, for fans like that to be out on the streets, I mean, I know what my friends are going to be like, and I know what the other side are going to be like. So hopefully they do just come together as one. And it is just one sort of big nation all enjoying the game. I'm hoping we get a victory tonight.
Yeah. And tell me about, as a Scot, I'm a half Scot. My mum was born in Coatbridge, and then she was an army child and so travelled and then ended up in Yorkshire meeting my dad. So I'm a half Yorkshireman, half Scot.
Celtic
fan, I'm afraid, Duncan.
It's all right, listen, we can get through that.
I mean, what's your relationship to the English and the English fans when it comes to sport particularly?
Sport particularly, I'll say one thing about English fans. I'm only taking this from TalkSport, though. I saw an interview with Jim White and Simon Jordan the other day. Simon Jordan's just saying, Scotland win, I don't care. If Scotland lose, I don't care. That sort of just belittling us, that really pisses me off. It really pisses me off. But there's always been that thing about like anyone but England with Scotland fans. But I think because this time we're here, we're actually competing. We're concentrating way more on ourselves and not focus on England.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day for us. I think the first game kicks off in an hour and a half. Is it Miami same time as Boston, isn't it? It's
half one here at the minute, So, when do you get to Miami?
21st we get there.
Awesome.
The day before actually one of my friend's birthday, Lewis, he's only got annual leave for up until the first sort of 2 weeks of this trip, and then he's meant to be going back offshore. But I think he's going to pull a sickie, especially if we've got a chance of getting through the group stages.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that's a couple of days before the game, so there's plenty of time to enjoy Miami and take it all in. Awesome. Well, I'll try and hook up with you outside the stadium, or have a beer in Miami Beach or something like that when you guys are down. It'd be good to see how the experience of the games are. And then hopefully you might still be in the tournament in some way, and there'll be something on the game.
Let's hope so, Rob. Let's hope so. But I'll look forward to seeing you in Miami, all right?
Yeah, great stuff. Have a great day, boys. Take care.
Cheers. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Wow, I wonder what state they're going to be in. One of the nice things about doing this project is that conversations tend not to stop when I press stop on the recording. I end up having a chat with someone online, and then a few days later, you're trying to work out where you'll meet for a beer in another city. So hopefully that won't be the last time that I catch up with Duncan on Fan 48. If everything aligns and Duncan and his mates stay alive after the excesses of Boston, then hopefully we'll catch up again in Miami ahead of that Brazil-Scotland game down here and find out about how his journey has been going. Let's see if he's still as optimistic then about Scotland's chances to progress through to the last 16. All right, see you next time.